Jawaja Project, a rural university experiment, was started in 1975 by the late Professor Ravi Mathai and his colleagues from the Indian Institute of Management at Ahmedabad. It was an experiment in education, and the attempt was to link economic development and the educational system in the hope that eventually this would provide resources for development. Various institutions and organizations such as the Central Leather Research Institute, the Weaver Service Center, the Indian Institute of Management, and the National Institute of Design interacted at different times, working up to the common goal of the villagers' self-reliance. The philosophy and objectives of this experiment are best described in a case study prepared by our colleague, Helena Perrin-Tupa, in 1981, which concentrated on the role of a designer in such a collaborative effort.
Of 480 million villagers in India, nearly 250 million are poor. Ganesh is one of them. If his standard of living is to improve, it is not merely enough that he produces more. He lives in a rigidly structured society. Those who traditionally are more privileged tend to take the lion's share of his production. If he is to be better off, he must not merely produce more wealth, but also be able to retain a fair share of it. Ganesh needs to be more self-reliant. This means that he should learn to do things which today are done perhaps by others. Some things he can learn to do himself like a craft. Other things he might need to do along with others in a group, like making financial arrangements with a bank, joint raw material purchasing, joint marketing, and very important, joint problem solving. The answer to Ganesh's problem does not lie merely in a new economic activity or in improved technology. The solution must simultaneously be found in his attitudes towards solving his own problems, managing his own affairs, in working in groups, and being able to make demands on his environment. While the change he needs is simultaneously technological, economic, and social, in his case, the stress is on economic change. His social problem relates more to his capability of working with others. The designer plays a part in all these aspects. Just as Ganesh has much to learn in this process, so has the designer to learn the social uses and consequences of his ideas. Ganesh, the designer, and many others are all learners together in a common experience. They are all part of an experiment in learning for development. This experiment is called the Rural University. The classrooms of the Rural University are the spaces of the village activities. And all involved are both teachers and learners. The activities take place in a poor and backward area called Jawaja in Rajasthan, India. The National Institute of Design is a major collaborator in the Rural University in the belief that its skills should be relevant to the Ganeshas of India. It is not as though the opportunities to learn did not exist for Ganesh. It is frequently the case that the need to learn did not arise. Further, satisfying the need should not threaten Ganesh's existence. If the traditional trade link between the old product and the old market is strongly entrenched, breaking this link might jeopardize Ganesha's existence. One strategy might therefore be to bypass the traditional link. This can be done by making new products with a new link for a new market about which the traditional trader knows nothing. When such change takes place, the question arises as to whether the craftsman can take over the whole of this market or a part of it. The market chain consists of many links, the craftsman, producer, perhaps 3 or 4 intermediaries, and the retailer. Each link adds its own commission and so builds up the consumer price. How many links in this chain can a villager control? If he gains strength by going through these experiences of performing marketing functions, can he return to his own market with his old village product and alter the rules of the game? How can he go about it? The critical question remains as to what constitutes the new link and what processes bring it into being. At Jawaja, the aim is that the craftsman should learn to be the new link. Ganesh became a weaver. In weaving, the choice was made to focus on furnishing fabrics rather than on fabrics for clothing. Within the range of furnishings, it was decided, along with the other knowledgeable organizations, to start with floor rugs, for which there was a large unfulfilled demand. This market tended to be typified by extremes, with very low price and sometimes low quality floor rugs at one extreme and very expensive carpets at the other. It was therefore decided to strike a part of the market in between these two extremes, using a mixture of local wool and cotton in a blend of earth colors. Simultaneously with weaving, dyeing and spinning were introduced. Later, design diversification became necessary to extend learning and skill development and to avoid overdependence on a single product range. Bedspreads and draperies were added. Weaving is traditionally a caste occupation, but in this experiment it cut across the castes. Leather working, being regarded as unclean, was confined to the lower castes, of which the Regas were one. They live on the outskirts of the village and suffer from many social disabilities. One is that they are not allowed to use the village well. The traditional role of the Regas was to flay animals, tan the hides, and fabricate 3 main village products: the village shoes, the charas, which is a leather water bucket, and animal-drawn cart harnesses. Flaying got them free raw material. The next most profitable activity was repairing shoes. Flaying and repair work was banned by the leaders of the caste in an effort to raise their social status. The caste laws are rigidly enforced under the threat of being outcast. At one stroke, the Regas lost most of their livelihood. Maniram, the Rega, has a problem different from that of Ganesh, the weaver. Maniram is caught between the social aspirations of his own caste leaders and the antagonism of his client, the farmer. His products have become expensive because he must now buy the raw material which previously was free. His products, having become expensive, are consequently more easily substitutable by mass-produced items. His range of products is restricted by poor quality hides and the limitation of traditional tanning process. Maniram's problem, unlike that of Ganesh, is as much social, if not more, than economic and technological. In his case, the social problem also relates to his social capability of working in groups, but more overwhelming is the social problem in relation to his environment. The first attempt, therefore, was to overcome a social problem created by the foul smell of traditional tanning and at the same time the technological problem of providing more versatile leather, from which a wide range of products could be fabricated. New tanning processes were taught to the Regas, but as the new hides were still the scratched and scarred skin of dead animals, the leather still had a defective appearance. The first products were school bags and pouches, which might not have required the sophistication of well-finished leather. And braided belts where braiding could de-emphasize the defects. The quality of tanned leather has by now improved and the range of products has widened. But Maniram can still not drink from the village well. Perhaps there might be something in the old thought that there is comfort in company and strength in numbers. Both Ganesh and Maniram might feel more at ease with regard to their own learning if they know that they are not alone in learning new skills and technologies and learning to perform new functions. There is therefore a mutuality of learning within each craft group. Even the knowledge that another craft group similarly is learning can be a source of comfort and encouragement. This sense of mutuality can be further extended by linking craft groups through product design. For example, can the weavers and the leather workers share a common learning experience through products designed to use both woven material and leather? Similarly, can craft and product development aim at the mutuality of learning between the sheep herders, wool spinners, and weavers? The mutuality of learning in this experiment starts with the idea of extensibility. This idea is simply that the designer teaches the right level of technology and skills to a small number of villagers. These villagers teach others, and they in turn teach others. If the extensibility of the villagers' learning is viewed as one side of the coin, the other side of the coin is the dispensability of the outsider. The designer's role therefore becomes that of a resource to resolve the design problems with which the villagers cannot cope. This, hopefully, will be a decreasing role such that within the given level of skills, the villagers can diversify their product range by designing their own products. The reassurance that might encourage their capability to innovate will again be reinforced by the sense of mutuality. One threatening function which they must learn to perform by themselves is quality control. This is first performed by the outsider. It is gradually transferred to the group of craftsmen. As the strength of the group grows, more functions are assumed and increasingly complex group decisions are taken. The group begins to learn how to perform more complex functions like marketing and so develop their own links with new urban markets. The experience of the experimenters is still too limited to know the extent to which this will work and how long it can be sustained. It is in the nature of experimentation that we can but try.
The presentation you have just seen was formulated in 1981. Today, 10 years after the rural university was founded, the craftsmen have learned to work in groups. There are two associations, the Jawaja Weavers Association and the Jawaja Leather Association. Both these groups manage their own affairs, but their major problem is the support they continue to need for marketing their products. In 1984, existing products faced a certain market saturation through known channels, while the market for new products was untried. To improve the marketability of Jawaja skills, NID launched a new design collection, promoted through exhibitions and sales in major cities. The new products had a twofold purpose: to upgrade skills and product quality, and to find new sales channels. The new collections in both leather and textile were developed together with the Jawaja craftsmen. The questions the designers faced were, what products to design, and for whom? In the area of leather, it was decided to use dyed leather for the first time. Brass hardware was an additional feature which added to the overall appeal of the products. Special emphasis was given to finishing. It was decided to diversify the product range so as to meet the demands for institutional products such as files, folders, and trays, in addition to a range of handbags. The Weavers Association preferred to use wool instead of cotton. The only product that they continued to weave were woolen rugs. Wool was more expensive, brought in better returns, and was also quicker to weave. Fabrics that used only cotton were slowly dropped. New designs for cushion covers incorporated wool along with cotton. The new range was designed for household use and of items requiring frequent replacement, like bedspreads and cushion covers. New designs were also developed for rugs, which had a steady market. Each design reflected the weaver's ability to learn new skills, although complex weaves and changes in their existing looms were scrupulously avoided. The rugs were designed in the corduroy, hand-knotted pile, and in the interlocking technique, while the cushion covers used extra weft patterning controlled by hand. Bedspreads used basic weaves. The weavers accustomed to weaving rugs initially found it difficult to weave fabric. Achieving an acceptability took time. It was planned that 2 craftsmen from each association would be trained at NID through this process of design development. They, in turn, would train others on their return to Jawaja. Then another 2 members would come to NID and work on yet another lot of products. The cycle would be repeated until all the association members had undergone a training period at NID, after which actual production of the new collection could begin at Jawaja. However, this schedule did not work out. The initial craftsmen who completed their training could not train the others because of the difficulties in raising finance to meet product development costs. Nor was there any guarantee at that stage that the new designs would win market acceptance. So the craftsmen continued to make the old products. This problem came to light when the NID designers found that they were having to teach each batch of craftsmen from scratch. The problem was resolved with financial assistance from NID to sustain a training program linked to product development. But the training program took much longer than anticipated and precluded the possibility of a wider range of products. The use of dyed yarn was kept to a minimum. Due to drought conditions and lack of dyeing facilities at Jawaja, natural colored wool is easily available and was used extensively. Dyeing of cotton yarn was restricted to a few colors. Bedspreads were designed to achieve variety by mixing colors in the weft, using the same warp, and also by arranging colors in stripes. The dyeing problems are various and complex. First, there is an acute water shortage. Second, dyes are not available in small quantities and have to be purchased in bulk from authorized dealers. For the weavers, this means a larger investment. So bulk dyeing had to be undertaken at NID for the exhibition. Yet the same method of dyeing when used in Jawaja yields totally different results due to the hardness of local water. The need for a small dye house in Jawaja has thus become a crucial one. Small lot dyeing eventually raises the cost of yarn and thereby the cost of finished product. Yet, the price of the product cannot be raised if it is to be competitive. The idea of approaching other dye houses was abandoned as there is no guarantee of continued reliability. While the training of craftsmen was in progress, other efforts were being made by NID to identify marketing channels. The government-owned Central Cottage Industries Corporation took an interest and placed a substantial order with the craftsmen for an exhibition and sale in November 1985, which was extremely successful. To the craftsmen, it confirmed the fact that there was a market for new products of a high quality, irrespective of material. More important, it raised the level of their own self-confidence. At the exhibition, NID also organized a buyer-seller meet to get the market feedback essential for both the craftsmen and the designers. During this experience, questions emerged that may be relevant to other craft groups, but are essentially outside the expertise of a designer. The first relates to market feedback. What products do you make, and at what price, and for whom, so that the craftsman can retain the maximum value added? Where should they be sold? If the pricing is right, will it reduce the possibility of middlemen exploiting the craftsman? How does one deal with economies of scale? Where does one draw the line between an improved level of technology and production and the craftsman's own independence and ability to handle his affairs? This is the vicious cycle between high production costs leading to restricted orders, which in turn lowers the level of production. Another major problem is finance. Who finances the craftsmen during the time they are learning to make the new products? And again, who finances new raw materials that may be essential to a new product range? For example, brass hardware used for the first time in leather products. These accessories had to be designed and produced in bulk so that production would be economically viable. But where do the craftsmen get such finance? These are among the many questions the product development effort has raised. Perhaps a much wider joint effort is now needed to find solutions that work and that can be sustained without the designer's intervention.